I'm Corey Rogie with GI Sportz, and in this video we're going to talk about our tanks, everything from CO2 to compressed air. We have our standard 20-ounce CO2 tank here, obviously CO2 only. We have our 48 cubic inch 3000 high pressure air tank. And then we also have our carbon fiber tanks, and you can see I kind of have our reg detached here, and we'll go over that here in a second. As far as what tank you want to choose for your paintball marker, that depends on a couple different things. Budget, obviously. The type of marker that you have. The vast majority of the markers that we produce today, they will accept CO2 and high pressure air, but we also have another line of markers that will only accept high pressure air. So you want to make sure that you choose the correct tank to go with your marker. One thing that we're going to talk about is just the tank maintenance in general, some issues that may arise and how to address them. The main thing that we're going to stress here is if you're not comfortable with working on your tank, don't do it. Just go ahead and take your tank to your local pro shop, or you can drain the tank and send it directly to us to have it serviced properly. Now, a lot of paintball players, they travel, they hop onto an airplane, they go to an event, and for the TSA, you need to have this regulator removed, okay? And the best way to do this without damaging the bottle, without damaging the regulator, is to just take it to your pro shop. Have them remove that regulator. I've seen a lot of customers try to remove it themselves, stick it into a vise, try to break that reg free. Most of them are Loctited, and then you end up damaging the outside of your tank, possibly damaging the reg to the point where it's no longer usable. So just kind of keep that in mind. I've already taken this reg off. You're going to see that the construction of this reg, there's a couple different components that I'm going to point out here. The most critical, obviously, being the gauge. It tells you exactly how much pressure you have left over in your tank. Okay. We also have our burst discs. Okay. We have a 1.8 on this version and a 7.5. Okay. Now the 7.5 is for the overall fill pressure of the tank, and then the 1.8 is for the output pressure of the regulator. So if you exceed your output pressure, you run the risk of blowing the burst disc on here, and then it would have to be replaced. Or in most cases, your reg needs servicing at that point. You know, like I said, if you're not comfortable with taking it apart, don't do it. I'm going to go ahead and just do it for demonstration purposes. I'm going to start with our Allen wrench here. This is a 3mm, and we're going to go ahead and loosen up our screws on the bonnet, which is the piece with threads on it that go into your marker. So we're going to go ahead and loosen that up. Go ahead and remove that. And you should be able to unthread it by hand. Okay. And then you can see that the piston and the shim stack has been retained in that bonnet. So we're going to go ahead and separate that now. Okay. Now we have our piston, our shim stack. Inside there we have a small spring. We'll go ahead and lay that out. And then we also have our pin on the top side. Now on the inside of the bonnet, there's a small O-ring that pin rests on. Okay. If that O-ring becomes damaged at all, you're going to get a leak straight out of the top of the regulator. Same thing with the pin. If the pin gets damaged at all, same thing. You'll possibly run into a leak out of the top side of the regulator. Going back to the burst discs, if you blow that 1.8 burst disc, more than likely the O-ring on the top side of your regulator piston is either worn out, damaged, dirt debris inside there from getting, dirty air filled into your tank. That's one thing. A lot of these guys that run fields, they're going to have some kind of air compressor system that will filter the air, but if it's not maintained properly, you could potentially get some contaminants in there, and that will, wear out your O-rings. We have the smaller O-ring on the bottom side of the piston, and then also on the very underside of the piston here, we have the regulator seat. Now, if this goes bad, same thing, you could constantly blow the 1.8 burst disc. So this is something that you kind of want to check from time to time, maybe take it apart, re-lubricate it. I will tell you this, do not re-lubricate your high pressure air system with paintball gun oil or any kind of oil whatsoever. You want to use a grease specifically designed for high pressure air systems, okay? So just keep that in mind. Never, ever, ever, for any reason, put oil into your high pressure air system, all right? So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna reinsert our piston back into the regulator housing. We're gonna go ahead and reinsert our spring back into the reg piston. We have our pin. We'll go ahead and rest that right on top. You'll see it'll kind of want to walk one way or the other, which is fine. You just go ahead and grab your bonnet and just kind of guide it right on top there. And if you're having a really, really hard time, what you can do is you can actually flip it around and drop your reg pin back into the top of the bonnet. Just kind of give it a little shimmy or shake there and get it to fall into that hole. Go ahead and reinsert your spring and then just kind of mate the two together. Go ahead and thread your bonnet back on, and you're just threading it on hand tight. That's it, okay? Go ahead and reinsert your bonnet screws. And you want to make sure that these are pretty tight, okay? If you go to thread your tank onto your marker and your bonnet screws are not tight, what will happen is you'll go to unthread your bottle from the marker and your bonnet will want to stick inside the ASA, and you're going to start to unthread the regulator and the regulator body from the bonnet. You don't want that to happen. One thing that we like to do is just kind of put a co-witness mark on the bonnet and the regulator body. You could use just like a silver Sharpie and just, you know, mark the side of the regulator body just to make sure that it's not coming loose on you, all right? And then whenever we reattach the regulator, we like to use red Loctite, just a little bit of red Loctite on the threads, and then secure that into the bottle, okay? Like I said, if you don't feel comfortable with doing any of this maintenance, take it to your local pro shop. They know how to do it. Another thing that we're gonna touch on here is the lifespan of each cylinder. All these cylinders have a 5-year lifespan, okay? So from the date that's actually on the bottle, that's printed on the bottle, you have 5 years until you have to have it rehydrostatically tested. Now, there's a couple different companies throughout the US that provide that service. You can typically send your bottle off. It'll cost you a small fee, and then they rehydrostatically test your bottle, and then they also apply a new stamp on there stating that it's been retested and it's safe to use. So we'll go ahead and reattach our regulator to the bottle. And that's pretty much the basic maintenance and pretty much everything you need to know about your high pressure air or CO2 system. If you have any questions, you can call us at the 1-800 number, or you can visit us online at paintballsolutions.com.